Hi everyone, welcome back to Jmeter training videos. Yeah, let's start today's session. So in our previous sessions we discussed about thread thing timers, right? So this session let's start with different concept. So let's start. Let's see which one to be started. Okay, so yeah, let's start with logic controllers. How to use logic controllers? We have plenty of them. So let's discuss each one of them. So yeah, let's get started, guys. So today's session we'll be discussing about transaction controller. Then we will go for if controller. Okay, if possible, I will try to cover if controller. So I think I already explained transaction controller in my previous videos. So still let me explain you about the transaction controller. Transaction controller is simple. So transaction controller is used to measure the response times for one or two samplers. Okay, let's say for each page you have, right, for web-based application you have login page, URL opening and log out. So you want to measure entire login page response time, which may have one or maybe 10 requests in it. Okay, samplers. So if you want to measure one or more samplers as a single transaction, you can insert the transaction controller. Okay, let's say as an example, already I have the MB sampler 1 and 2, right? I want to measure these two response times as a single transaction response time. So what we can do is first you have to insert this transaction controller, then we have to move disable this one. So always make sure if you have any constant timers within the samplers, right, always remove them and add them to the transaction controller. Now there is a options are available, two options: generate parent sampler, and you have include duration of timer and preprocessor in generate sampler. Okay, so what is this one is if you have, let's say if you have a duration sampler, duration, this one, right, constant timer, if you want to include that response time also to be included in this transaction, right, then you can insert this option. Okay, include duration of timer and preprocessors in generated samplers. Okay, let's say this sampler has this constant timer, you want to include this time along with the sampler time, then you can include this option. If you don't want to include any preprocessors, or if you don't want to include any constant timer response times, then exclude this option. Okay, so this is only useful if you want to consider this response, this time to be included in this dummy sampler. Otherwise you can ignore this option. This one, generate parent sample, that means it will generate only transaction controller, it won't generate any um, time for this particular individual samplers. Okay, so that is all about this one. You want to generate parent sampler. Okay, so it will generate only response time for only parent sampler. Okay, so let me add this one as the, let's say call it as a URL. Okay, so you can keep URL at the transaction. Okay, now I am measuring the URL. I am just added two dummy samplers underneath URL. So I am assuming these two are URL requests. So I want to measure these two response times. Okay, so here anyway we can check here. Okay, so what is happening and what it is doing. Okay, so if you run here, right, it will generate only this particular URL in the view results table. Okay, and you can see what it is doing. So this one, let it be. Okay, so let me go ahead and keep it only one user, and let's run it for 5 times. Okay, so this time will let me disable the synchronized timer as well, so which we used earlier session, right? So now I have only transaction controller, which will measure the response times of two requests as a single transaction. Okay, now URL response time is combination of these two response times. Okay, so sum of these two response times. Okay, if you want to individually, you can run them individually, you will get individual response times. But let's say there is a, in real time you have a URL page which have 10 requests. You want to measure all response times of each and every request to be included in the URL response time. Then you can mention generate parent sampler. Then it will generate as a some separate sampler for that one. Okay, so if you go here and run it, right, see, you can see the only URL transaction, nothing else. Okay, so now it will run only URL sampler, and you don't see this individual samplers. Okay, why? Now I mentioned generate parent sampler only. That means it is generating only URL, how much time it is going to take. Okay, so let me stop the test and we'll see. See here, now this URL is transaction which measures the response time of this sampler and this sampler. All together it took 194 seconds. Here it took 139 seconds. Okay, likewise it is used to, this transaction controller is used to measure the response times of one or more requests. Okay, if you want to measure these two requests to be in one response time, then you can use transaction controller. The best way is to use, right, for our real world scenarios. If you want to measure URL page response time, login page response time, that may have one or more requests, right? In that case you can use this way. Okay, so this is the best way of using transaction controller. If you remove this one, right, what it does is it will show this URL along with this, it will show these two requests also in the view registry. Okay, so if I run now, right, what happens is it will show the URL response time along with this individual response times as well. Okay, so let me run only one time. Okay, so I gave one infinite, so it is running multiple times. If I run only once, right, you can see only one time with URL and URL sampler 1 and sampler 2. These two times if you add, it will be URL response time. Okay, so let's go ahead and run it and see here. Okay, see, dummy sampler is 73 seconds and dummy sampler 1 is 64 seconds. If we add these two, it will be 137 seconds. 4 plus 3 is 7. 12 plus 130 137. See, this is the uh, way of using this option. If you click on generate sampler, parent sampler, you won't see the child samplers. Okay, it will hide them. If you disable this option, it will show all URL response time as well as individual response times. Okay, so always use this option only. Don't use generate sampler alone. Okay, disable this option so that you know overall transaction response time as well as individual request wise response time. That is very good, right, to see which request is taking more time. You want to know, in that case it is very easy to identify which request is taking time. If you give parent sampler, you will see only overall response times of all these requests, but you don't know what is the individual request response time. In that case, don't use this option, generate parent sampler option, guys. Okay, always disable these two options and run the test. That is the best approach to use transaction controller. Okay, so let me show you another script where I really implemented this, right, transaction controllers. I think I already shown you in my previous videos. I am opening any one of them. Okay, flight booking, right? Let me open flight booking JMX. Yeah, so let's go to here. I think see here. Okay, here I have just recording controller. It doesn't do anything. It is just like a dummy controller. If you keep here one transaction, it will just run one time. If you give two times as a loop counter, it will run two times. Okay, so here I used HTTPS script timer to record the pages, right? So now you can disable this option. Okay, this is only while doing recording we can use this one. So here if you see, right, I have URL transaction. Inside that I have one uh, sub request. Okay, this is this request. If you see find book, I have one. Okay, so this is for only single request, right? So if you want to measure, let's say you have two three requests inside this your application, then in that case it is very easy to have this transaction names. Always use proper naming conventions. You see, if you see here, right, I gave flight booking underscore 01, flight booking underscore 02, flight booking underscore 03, 04. So the report will be very good, guys. If I run this one, you can see very beautiful report in the sequential order. Okay, go to listeners as add view results table. Okay, or you can add another one also. Okay, for now disable this one. Let's run only one time. Okay, and see how it works. Okay, see here it is giving URL. This is the parent and this is the child. That means inside that we have one URL and we have this one. Okay, so here see it is having the uniform random timer. That is the reason it is waiting. Okay, so by default you have to disable these options. If you include this option, whatever time it is waiting here, right, that time also included in the transaction time. Okay, if you don't want to include this time, always disable this option. Okay, so yeah, that is the way we have to use it. See, this is the URL and this is the main transaction. Okay, you can move. This 17 is the request and this is the main parent. Okay, here only one request we have. So whatever transaction time it is showing, the child also showing the same time because it has only one underneath it. Okay, so this way we can measure the response times, and we can add transaction controller to measure one or more sampler response times. Okay, so let me stop this test and let me open another one. I want to show you the best one which I have. I think yeah, let's see this one and see what it has. Okay, yeah, I think this is the best one. See, I used the ultimate thread group with the different ramp up times, durations, and multi ramp ups, multi durations, right? And yeah, you can have mm see here I have URL open. Click on URL transaction which has 4 to 5 requests underneath it. Okay. If you want to measure all these response times to be in one transaction, then click on URL transaction will measure all these response times. Okay. Let's say this is taking 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 50 seconds. URL response time transaction will measure all together as a 50 seconds as the response time. Okay, and also always don't use this option, always disable it so that you know individual response time as well as parent response time. Okay, so I used this think time option. This is the best option. Never ever use the inside options, always disable them or delete them. Okay, this is the best approach to use them. Okay, see here I have login which have three requests. Here I have click on flight button. I have three requests. So if you have each page has more than one request, you want to measure, the transaction controller is the best option. You know end-to-end response time for these three requests as well as individual response times you will get. Okay, so always use this approach, guys. Okay, this is the transaction controller to measure the end-to-end response time for that particular page. Okay, always remember it is the page response times, not individual request response time. If we, what do I mean by page? When I click on URL, internally it is calling this many requests to the server. So if you want to measure entire page response times, this 5 requests has to get the response time, then only you will get click on URL page response time, right? So that is the reason click on URL page has 5 requests. Once this 5 requests completes, the page is completed. That means the page is loaded successfully. Okay, to do you want to measure the such kind of way, you can use this approach, guys. Transaction controller is very simple to measure the response times of for any particular page which has more than one request to be included in that particular transaction. We can use it for transaction controller. Okay, transaction controller is to measure the page response times. Okay, not individual sampler response times. You can add more than one sampler underneath the transaction controller. Okay, that is all about transaction controller, guys. Okay, so hope you understand the concept of transaction controller. Okay, so let's see the another controller. Okay, for this time I will use some mm, other script to use it, that one. Okay, so let's open our old one. So yeah, this one, right? Let's say here I want to write some code. Okay, and go here and go to if controller, right? Why do we use if controller? Okay, what is the usage of if controller? Let's say you want to write some code. Okay, that code would be like if the URL is not working. Okay, so then or the previous page previous sample response time is okay. Okay, there is no error, then you want to make it go to next request. Okay, such kind of code you want to write. Let's say you written some correlation value at the login response, you got some HTTP authentication token. That token you want to pass it to next subsequent URLs. Okay, then first we have to check, right, whether the value is coming or not. Okay, for that you have to verify the condition whether the value is coming in the response or not. If the value is not coming, then only we have to go to the next request. So some kind of scenarios, if you want to make it, you can use the if controller. Okay, here we have one sample thing, right? Use this sampler. Okay, they mentioned already, use the to test last sampler was successful or not, right? They gave one this one, so use this one. Okay, click on use status of last sample. What it does is Jmeter thread. Okay, that means Jmeter thread is this one user. Okay, last sample was okay. If this sampler was getting okay response, okay, response as okay, then only it will go to sampler 2. Okay, if the response is not okay, then we should not go to the another sampler. Okay, in that case, let's go and add another dummy sampler. Okay, so where is that dummy sampler? Okay, let me add dummy sampler here. What I am doing is now in the URL I have two requests. The final request is this one, right? If this request is giving okay response, then only go and click on this request. If this is not giving okay response, then don't click on this dummy sampler 2. Okay, I will make it dummy sampler 2. Okay, there is a condition, right? If this response time is okay, then only I have to go and click on this particular request 3, sampler 2. Otherwise, don't click on this one. Okay, in that cases, what do you do? If you run now, right, this response time will always return true, right? Because this if controller does is it always evaluates true or false conditions. Okay, if this response time is okay, then this condition will become true, then it will go to inside loop. Okay, if this is not okay, then it will return false, it won't go to inside this loop. Okay, whenever it is true, then only it will go to the inside loop. Okay, otherwise it won't go inside loop. Okay, so now you want to see whether this is returning true or false, right? What you can do is go to help, and there is a enable debug. Okay, so enable debug and click on this 0 button. Okay, it will show the logs. Okay, now it will show you whether that see, it is showing that if controller is enabled. So whatever controllers you have, it will enable the debug level on. Now it will show you whether it is returning true or false. Okay, so if you run now, it will show you if it is true, then only it will click on the dummy sampler 2, otherwise it won't click. Okay, just run for only one iteration, guys, and see. Okay, so there is only one iteration, and let's click on run button. Okay, now you can see here, see what it does. Evaluate the expression, ignoring case the return value is true. That means this become true, then what it does, it will go to the sampler 2. Okay, if it returns false, then it won't go. Okay, if you go here, see, it clicked on 3 requests. Okay, sampler 2, because it become true, then only it went inside the loop. If it is false, it won't go inside this loop. Now let's make it not okay. This request I am making as not okay. This time manually I am editing as not okay, and click now. What it does, previous message is okay or not, it will check. Okay, now if I run, if it is not okay, what it does is it won't click on this particular request. It should return false. Okay, so clear this one. Again go here and click on enable debug and click on run button. Okay, so see, again it return true only. Okay, so that means it is checking previous sampler was okay or not, right? So in that case, what we do is, instead of 200 response, right, click 400 response. Okay, so sometimes it may check 200 response time as well. Okay, so then clear this one. Okay, and again go here help and debug, and run this one. Okay, so we already did clear, and click on run that run button. Okay, okay, if controller evaluate expression true equals true. Okay, again it become true. Okay, why? Jmeter thread last sampler. Okay, okay, so success sampler. Okay, successful sampler, and go here and see whether it is a, oh, okay, we gave it as a successful sampler, right? Let's remove this one also, successful sample, so that let it fail and see what it returns. Okay, sometimes this is also matters. So let's again clear this. Okay, and enable debug, and click on run button. Okay, see, evaluate expression is false, ignoring case true. Okay, so this time it's the evaluate expression is false. Okay, let's see what it does. See, so see guys, what it does, this time dummy sampler failed. Okay, so we always use this one successful sampler as disable this. Okay, so that it will fail it. Okay, so if the sampler fails, you will see this into mark. Whenever it fails, what it does is it will return false response. Okay, see, it must be either true or false. Okay, so the evaluate expression is false. This is the very important one. Okay, if it is false, it should not go here, right? So it should not go to dummy sampler 2. Okay, so here you can see whether it went to dummy sampler 2 or not. No, right? Because it become false. Okay, so that is the way you have to use if controller. If you want to try any condition, if that condition true, if you want to go, that particular transactions keep inside this one. Okay, only this condition is true, then only it will go to this particular inside the loop, otherwise it won't go. Okay, such kind of scenario if you have, you can make them if controller. Okay, it always evaluates true or false condition. Now if you want to make again this one, keep this successful sampler as true, so that it will return always true in the evaluation expression. Okay, it never fails, it will always passes. Okay, then it won't it will go to this request because it is true, right? So how to verify, is it returning true or false? Go to here debug sampler. Okay, and always make sure here in this into bar click on this one. Okay, it will show here and run it. Okay, this is one of the best options. See, evaluate expression true. Okay, that means it went inside, and this time you should see sampler 2. Okay, so yeah, this is the way you can use if controller. If controller is used for verifying whether the condition is true or false based on previous request, or if you are done some correlation, you are capturing response time as okay or not. Okay, then you can use that one. Okay, so you can capture that response message and you can write the condition. Okay, for that you can do another thing. So let's insert the view results tree. Okay, listener, this time we will write different condition. Okay, in view results listener, I will see the response time message what I am getting. I will write regular expression extractor to capture that message, and I will validate this condition. Okay, let's go ahead and run this for one time and see. Okay, yeah, go to the response. Okay, so this is the dummy sampler request. So go to the response. Without this helps you do test response time. Okay, it's just giving this messages, right? Okay, request and response data. Yeah. Okay. So now let's see. I want to capture request. Okay, I want to capture this request message. Okay, if that request message is there, then I want to use this one. Uh, go to next request. Let's take this entire value. Okay, copy. And what you can do is here you can go and add as the preprocessor, post processor. Okay, because we need post processor, right? And a regular expression extractor. I think I explained this one. So you can go ahead and put this value here. I want to capture that particular value, dot star question mark, and this I can mention response message. Okay, $1 dollar. Okay, match case one. Okay, and yeah, use this one as the empty value. Now you want to test this value. Okay, you can take this one, go here, and go to regular expression tester, and you can test that one whether it is working or not. See, it's capturing a request value. Okay, so it captures this request value. Now you can go and check if the request is coming here, you want to pass it, otherwise you want to fail it. Okay, something like that. So now what you can do is, now instead of that one you can use response message. Okay, so here you can this is the correlation value, right? Response message equal to double quotation. So what is that? Request, right? So if the value whatever it is capturing is equal to request, then you want to pass. Okay, otherwise you want to fail it. So this is string comparison, guys. You have to use double equal to. If the string is equal to this string, then it will become true. Okay, then it will go to sampler 2, otherwise it won't go to sampler 2. So such way, if you want to write code, you can use regular expression and you can capture the value and you can write the condition. If the response message equal to request, then click on the sampler 2. Okay, something like that. If you want to write, you can write, and you can run it, and yeah, if you want to enable debug sampler also, you can enable, and you can run it and see the condition. See here it is, what it is saying, request equal to request. Okay, so it become true. Okay, so let's go to the, see here. Oh, what happened is it's yeah. So now what is the problem, right? It's in double quotations, it's not in double quotations, so it is not making any sense, right? So let's keep this one in the double quotations. Okay, because we have to make both of them in the string comparison, right? So now this will become request and this will become request. Okay, now again enable this option. Okay, click on run button. See, now it should return true, then it should go to the sampler 2. Okay, mm, so ignoring case. Okay, okay, what's happening here? Interrupt condition. Okay, so let's remove this condition. Sometimes this also makes some problem. Okay, so again go here and run this. Okay, and see get condition request equal to request. So what it does, it is written true, right? So now go ahead and see. Yeah, see, so always remove this option, remove guys, it is making as the variable expression. Okay, so now we have to not to use variable expression, right? String comparison, for string comparison you don't want to use this option. Okay, so always use something, if it is not working, right, try to remove this option and try to run it. Okay, so now what it does is, it is saying request equal to request is true. That means it is going to uh, sampler 2. Let's say if you want to fail it, then you can make request 1. It has to be equal to request 1. So clear it and enable the option and run it. Okay. See, this time it request not equal to request 1, right? What it does, false. That means it should not go to the request sampler 2. So that way you can use your if controller, guys. Okay, so yeah, that is the option. We have to use it for comparing the uh, if condition. If you want to write such conditions, if you want to compare, you can use if controller. Okay, so if you use this option, it will I think that it is a variable expression. It is not variable expression, right? You are not using variables here. Okay, so if you want to use variable expression, you have to write another way, vars dot get, and you can compare that value to some other value. Okay, so you can use groovy function, you can use a lot of coding, guys. Okay, so in that cases it will work. Okay, that I will explain you later videos how to write in advanced way, but the simple way you can use this, this way also you can use. You can remove this interpret as a variable expression. You can use simple conditions for string comparison. Okay, so it will work. It will check if the returns true, then it will go inside the condition. If it returns false here, it won't go to the inside this loop. Okay, that is the very simple technique. Okay, so this is all about if controller. It is only used for check the condition. If you want to check any regular expression or previous sampler is giving okay response, then only you want to click something like that. If you want to write, you can write and you can make it work, guys. Okay, so yeah, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe my channel for more updates. Yeah, please let your friends or someone who is interested to learn. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys in next video. Bye for now.